So the topic will be how effective is Reiki and Pranic Healing. So I will be sharing some point for around 30 minutes, and the remaining 30 minutes you can ask your questions. So about the topic today, see, for the past 2 decades now, that is in a way more than 20 years or so, Reiki or Pranic Healing has become quite popular. And we can say the different problem or persisting problems that the person is facing. Many try to get Reiki or Pranic Healing done on themselves. I see some of you maybe who are looking at us today, maybe you are practicing Reiki or Pranic Healing, or some of you also wish to learn about the Reiki and Pranic Healing. And in today's session, we will explain to you about how effective it is. We will show you also pictures to explain how healing is done. We will also show you 2 subtle drawings to show what happened with when Reiki and Pranic Healing is done. And we will also do a small healing exercise. So just to explain also one point about people who do actually Reiki or Pranic Healing feel that they are a medium to some spiritual energy source. And actually this is a misconcept. As for spiritual healing to take place, the healer's spiritual energy also come into play. So now I would like to show you an image. This is actually a picture of how healing takes place when the healer is healing some person. So actually you can see this is, we took a simple analogy of turning the light on. And the first step is making a light bulb come on, is actually to turn on the switch on. So the electric current then will flow across the wire and the bulb will begin to glow. That is in a way logic that we are all aware about it. And this is similar how positive spiritual energy has to flow through the healer to heal actually the affected person. So the healing is proportionate to the amount of the positivity, we can say, or the positive spiritual energy in the healer. So this positive spiritual energy will depend on the spiritual level of the healer. So just to come back now, this spiritual research now shows that for healing to occur, the spiritual level of the healer should be minimum of 50%. And today, in today's time, the average spiritual level of a person is 20%. So most of the time, the people trying to heal others do not have the sufficient spiritual level. So due to that, what can happen? So actually what happens is one is prone to be affected by spiritual distress of the person that one is trying to heal. And if the person who actually is getting healed and is affected by negative energy, what can happen is the negative energy can react and affect the healer. And as a result, in a way, the healer can get affected. And as the spiritual level of the healer is less or low, what can happen, it will take some time for the person to be able to overcome the attack from that negative energy. I don't know if some of you maybe were watching today have done Pranic Healing or Reiki, we can say, and have experienced something like that, that after you did healing on somebody, you felt weak or tired, or if experienced different problem. You can also share or ask different questions. Also for some, for some they do healing with Pranic Healing or Reiki for money, means they gain money from that. And some do it because out of good heart, because they feel like they like to help others. But actually it is more from the result, it is the same, because with a period of time, the person can be targeted by negative energy. And ultimately what happens, one spiritual energy be lost, and one, because of that, when spiritual energy is lost, one drops spiritually. And just in our research, what we have found also is it's like 30% of the healers are spiritually positive, while actually 70% are under the influence of negative energy. And when we say only 30% of healers were spiritually positive, only 10% of them actually are helped by, we can say, positive energy, and the remaining 20% actually use their own spiritual energy. So I would like also to share some experience that we have encountered at the spiritual research centers. We have since 2015 and over 5 years spiritual workshop. So we had visitors from all over the world, aspirants from all over the world, and what we have seen is many who did Reiki or Pranic Healing starting experiencing different problems, even while traveling also in different countries to spread spirituality and talking with different curious. It is almost the same pattern that often the person, after starting to learn Reiki or Pranic Healing, after a period of 3 to 6 months, the person start experiencing different problems or symptoms. Some of them started to feel weakness, some start to feel different physical problems happen, tiredness, getting sick. So this is something that we have seen quite often. And also one story that I met one lady who told me that there were a young lady who were quite successful and good, very nice person. And when after she started doing some Pranic Healing and Reiki, what happened is her behavior started to change completely. Even parents could not recognize how she was behaving. She started to behave in a different way, started to wear also different clothes. She was started to wear dark clothes. And at the same time, she would look also at something like porno. So she started to behave in a completely different way. So we also did some research in the research center where actually some Reiki master or some Reiki level 2 also came to the research center in Goa, India. And we have also asked them if they wanted to participate in some research. So I would like to show you some subtle pictures of what happened when Reiki or Pranic Healing is done on a person. As you can see, this is actually a subtle drawing by somebody who have a advanced sixth sense, and how the black energy actually is exchanged between the person doing Reiki and the person who is healed, because actually they are the two person, either the Reiki practitioner or the person being healed, are both affected by negative energy. And as we said, that's more than 70% of the healers are actually affected by negative energy. And also one of the things we share in SSRF, that in today's time, many people are affected by negative energy. So as you can see here, some exchange of black energy happen. So most of the time, what happens is 80% of the time, the exchange, it is actually an exchange of black energy between the possessed negative energy in the Reiki person or the person being ill who is affected by negative energy. And I would like now to show you another subtle pictures just for you to understand what happened. So as I shared before, now if a person who is not affected by negative energy and a person who is affected doing Reiki on somebody, at that time the person who is affected doing Reiki will affect the person who is being ill. Or the other way around, as you can see here in the subtle picture, it is a Reiki done by an individual who actually have distress, a person who have distress, and the seeker actually who is lying down on the bed actually is positive. And as you can see here, it is the other way around. It is the healing happen on the one doing healing. So this is the importance of, because that person is doing spiritual practice and has a good spiritual level. So the opposite happen. But here what happen if as we show, if two persons are affected by negative energy, it's just an exchange of black energy. But if the person, if you do another subtle pictures where you have a person who is a Reiki healer but is not affected by negative energy, but the person who is healed have negative energy, and at that time the negative energy will go and affect the healer, as we shared already before, that the chance when we perform a Reiki or Pranic Healing on others, the chance is very high with time to get affected by negative energy. Because we can see now in the subtle picture how there is a flow of positive and negative, especially the subtle picture that I have shown you just before, where we saw what is just an exchange of black energy. And just I will repeat again that sentence, because 80% of the time when Reiki or Pranic healing is done on someone, it is mainly an exchange of black energy. And why we want to show you that is because we want to explain and show you how it can be dangerous and harmful. Just to go back also now, because I have shared to you now how we can see how even though Pranic Healing or Reiki now may look attractive and interesting, but just to understand it is quite dangerous, and once negative energy affects the person, it is very difficult to get rid of it. As I shared to you that personal story that I have met, that person started to behave completely different, and there's at times that just negative energy can enter the person. Sometimes it takes time for the negative energy to slowly affect the person. And sometimes the negative energy, if the person is more weak spiritually, then the negative energy within just few sessions can start affect the person and enter the person. So just to see we want to do Pranic Healing, or because we like to help others, or some of you wants to overcome problem. So you feel I should go to a healer and get Reiki done on me. But actually, if we do spiritual practice, or we have a simple self-healing technique that we would like to show you, and we can do that exercise also, is we repeat God's name, because there is also a principle that name, form and energy coexist. So when we repeat a divine chant or divine name, we attract this divine positivity within us. So what we can do now, we can play the divine chant. Some of you maybe heard it in the beginning of the sessions. So you can close your eyes. We will play the divine chant for around 3 to 4 minutes. And then you can just see how you feel. For those who are not familiar with chanting, you can just close your eyes and focus on your own breath. So you can close your eyes now, and we will play the divine chant.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 ॐ नमो भगवते
Okay, you can just remain with closed eyes for the next 15 seconds and see what you feel from inside, whether mind is more calm or if something different. And then you can also share in the chat also what you feel. So just to say, see, people who come to Reiki, so people who do Reiki or Pranic Healing may actually have, were actually maybe above spiritual level, because there is some desire not to find out what to do. They are interested in some of the spiritual dimension or spiritual energy. And sometimes you may be doing because of your past birth or spiritual practice, or some of you may have spiritual ability, or it may be also some ability from the negative energy affecting the person. And as we continue to do Reiki or Pranic Healing, actually there is a very great chance for interference of negative energy. And as I shared earlier, we have encountered many people, many curious, many seekers who actually start experiencing different problems. And ultimately in the end, we can lose our spiritual energy. So at SSRF, we recommend self-healing. This is one of our main guidance, that we don't to do healing on others, but to practice self-healing and to do spiritual practice. And so one self-healing is what we just mentioned about repeating God's name. One is removing black energy. We have also on the website some articles about it. We had also a live stream session, I think a month to 2 months ago, about how to remove black energy. So I invite you to look at those videos or read our articles. Nyas is a technique of mudras, using the fingers to actually purify our chakras, to help to overcome the black energy from our chakras. And we have different healing remedy, like box remedy, salt water remedy. So like that, we have a multitude of many types of remedies. So dear seekers, not what we can do, we can go to your questions. I think some of you already wrote some experience also, and you also already have some questions. So don't hesitate, and whatever I share since the beginning, if you have question, you can write also. So actually, this is from Eugène. This is actually Eugen, okay. You say you receive your Reiki level 3 master, and 1 month after you became very ill and develop multi-chronic illnesses, which you suffer from now, and how I can reverse it. So actually, Eugène, as I share now, we are one of the curious like that, as many, and that actually doing it is quite dangerous, because as you said, negative energy affect. But ultimately, Eugène, you have a solution. We can overcome it, because at SSRF, we have different seekers who have done healing or pranic healing or Reiki, and also were affected by negative energy, but they were able to overcome it. So it is possible to overcome it. Just what you can do, Eugene, if try to start doing self-healing remedy, repeating God's name, and it is possible to overcome. It may take some time, because ultimately what happens here, the negative energy may have affect you. It's just a matter of time to work on it. It may take some months or maybe 1 year, 2 years to overcome it. But definitely it is possible. And that's why we are trying to say now to why we have this live stream. It's exactly due to that, to tell others don't do Reiki, don't do pranic healing, because once negative energy can affect you, then it is difficult to overcome and it can cause problem in our lives. And if we practice spirituality, then we are able to grow spiritually. We also get self-protected because God created a protective shield around us, and the different problems that we actually may have due to destiny start fading away, and we start experiencing a much higher level of happiness that is called bliss or spiritual emotion. So Eugene, also you can always write on our live chat, because it is one of our SSRF help seekers in their journey to grow spiritually, and also help seekers to overcome problem caused by negative energy. There is another question. This is from Krista Forman. I became a certified Reiki master. It was a great start to my journey. Does Reiki energy have a high frequency, or does it depend on the person who is giving the healing? So Krista, as I shared before, actually it depends on the person who is healing, the spiritual level of the person who is healing. So it can have two things: is the frequency of the energy can come from the person itself, that means like previous spiritual practice, and we say that is if the person is positive. And out of that 30%, no, and 10% actually is coming from positive entities, or positive energy gives actually that capacity, and the remaining 20% is the person is using their own spiritual energy. So what is the danger of that is if the person use their own spiritual energy, once that spiritual energy is we can say not there anymore, then the person don't have spiritual protection at all. It's like having a bank account where the person have maybe $10,000 savings, and when that saving is gone, the person doesn't have anything. So at that time the person become vulnerable from, we can say, negative energy. And the second, also, just to go back to what can be also the source of the strength of healing, it can be not from the person, but it can be from the negative energy affecting the person. And this is 80% of the time, this is what happens, is we can see in Reiki or Pranic Healing sometimes some healing happening, or the person can feeling the intensity of the energy, but actually most of the time it is actually due to the negative energy power. There's another question from Nagesh. You feel calm and happy every time I do Reiki on myself. Am I hurting myself? My spiritual level may be 30%. See, Nagesh, ultimately we don't know what may be our spiritual level. Ultimately, yes, when we are attracted by doing something, or you are doing healing on yourself, that means that we are above the spiritual level. What is a good thing? You are doing Reiki on yourself. But what can happen in Reiki? In Reiki, sometimes a person call different vibrations or energy, or they say they call the light. But sometimes here, when the spiritual level is not high enough, the person will not be able to understand the spiritual vibrations, because negative energy can disguise themselves as well as positive. But this is something they can do. So sometimes the person may not be able to understand and recognize. That is the danger of, even if we do Reiki on ourselves and call some different positive energy, we may not know whether it is positive or negative. That's why we recommend chanting God's name, because the name by itself is positive. There's another question from Anita Daswani. What is Reiki and Pranic Healing exactly? So actually, Reiki and Pranic Healing, there is some similarity and there is also some slight difference. It is some type of healing that the person does. So in Reiki, sometimes it is by touching, or just by also putting the hand above the person's and bringing, in a way, different type of vibrations from different sources to heal the person. So they act as a medium. And in Pranic Healing is without touch. This is in a way the difference also with Reiki. It is without touching, but it is actually taking also different energy from different sources or element to also heal the person. In a way, to transmit, whether it is Reiki or Pranic Healing, it is to transmit some vibrations to the person. This is from Simply at Home. This is Ramya. Yes, Ramya. What I heard from you is if one has 50% positive energy, both the master and student, then it is okay for this subtle healing. Else, not to do this healing. Yes, actually, yes. See, ultimately is until and unless the person reach a spiritual level of 50% and is doing it under the guidance of a saint, then it is, we can say, safe and secure. But if whether the person will know that is at 50%, that is something we don't know. So ultimately, same thing. When it comes to healing, it is better to do self-healing, because until and unless the person reach a spiritual level of sainthood that is above 70%, then at that time the saint will not be affected or less by negative energy. So that's why it is better to do self-healing as well, to try to increase spiritual practice. There's another question from Ramya. Also, basically, Reiki or Pranic Healing is authentic only if from someone who can see this subtle energy, or are Reiki and Pranic Healing fraud and false? Here, see what we are about Reiki or Pranic Healing. It is in a way the act to heal someone. So when somebody, it has a higher spiritual level, and then it is happening, the process will be, it is not like it is fraud or false, because energy flow happen. But what happens is, because the spiritual level of the person is not high enough, or the healer is affected by negative energy, or they are not able to understand, or the person may have good intention but doesn't understand the spiritual dimension or cannot see the spiritual dimension. So they may not be able to understand that that light may be positive or negative. So actually things happen, but what happens is like things can happen most of the time in a wrong way, because people do it more like because it is fun, it is attractive. But important in spirituality is spiritual strength, spiritual capacity. This is only one count. See, in comes to worldly life now. In worldly life, what count is our currency. Anything you want to buy, you need money. And in spirituality, what we need is spiritual energy. It's like somebody who doesn't have any money and wants to buy a big house. It is similar like that. Somebody is not having any spiritual level and try to deal with the spiritual dimension. So this is dangerous. We can be, and we have seen now how that lady I've shared, Eugène, that what happened to her. And this is happened often, and this is what we come across very often, that many people get affected, more severe, some less severe, and some more severe. See, when it is severe, like Eugène or that story I've shared also, it is more easy to understand. But I will tell you also, I have met a person from New York, a chiropractor, who came also to our workshop in India. And he says that he used to do chiropractic as well as some type of Reiki and different healing on others. And he used to also do amazing healing. And later what happened, he got shoulder frozen, then he started to have many problems. So he understood by intellect that something was wrong, but he could not pinpoint, and he came to India to try to overcome this problem. But even when we explained to him the science, it was difficult for him to understand and accept. Why? Because the negative energy affecting him was actually fighting him and not able to actually understand what happened. This is one of the causes when negative energy start affecting a person, it becomes difficult to overcome it. There's another question from Jana Bruda. Is healing method comparative study available on SSRF website? See, Jana, we have, yes, we have different healing, self-healing method. We have many that is published on the website and actually helps to overcome different problems. We have the box therapy, salt water remedy, Nyas. So that there are different healing methods that helps to actually overcome problem caused by negative energy, or also problems that happen due to destiny. There's another question from Arpana Bhargava. How one knows about the percentage of the spiritual level? See, Aparna, we had, actually it was last week, we had a very nice sessions on what is my spiritual level. And actually here we explain to understand also, also as per the path we follow, some understanding where we stand in our spiritual journey. So actually you can go through the website or you can go to YouTube channel. We have a channel with many videos where also all our live stream are there. So you can look at the video, or as well you can see on the website also we have an article about the spiritual level. There is a question from Santosh Pai. How to do self-healing? If self-healing is not correct, then is there any side effect of the same? Is there any book to learn self-healing? See, Santosh Pai, no, self-healing is correct. Doing healing on others or other doing healing on me it can be dangerous, because either we get affected, it's more easy to get affected, but self-healing is secure. Here what happens is when we do self-healing and we call some energy and we don't know what it is, that can be also dangerous. That's why we recommend those basic steps, repeating God's name and doing healing remedy after the basics element like water, salt water, boxes. So there is no harm in it, there is no danger, but calling entities, calling energies to heal us is dangerous. And is there any book? There are those books, those articles now on the website that you can read. And ultimately, see, we don't need 100 of different type of self-healing remedy. 2-3 is sufficient. Because ultimately what we need to overcome the black covering that negative energy may affect us. And we create positivity within us. So actually the techniques are simple and few, but ultimately is to put them into practice. Reading them is not going to help us. Like he said, I learn cooking. Oh, but I just read books on cooking. I will not know how to cook. So similarly, no, reading books only, but if we don't put into practice, we will not overcome. So what I'm saying, putting into practice, if we just do it few times, it will not have any value. Ultimately, we should do healing remedy every day, as we take shower every day, no? Because every day there is some sweat in our body. So ultimately, every morning or night, it depends on the person, we take shower to clean ourselves physically. Similarly, every day we should clean ourselves spiritually. The moment we step outside, it is full of black energy, black covering everywhere, negative vibrations, and that come on us. So that's why daily we should try to overcome this spiritual impurity, and that may take some time, but it's something that require also practice and discipline. There is another question from Jason Matthew. Do you do Reiki healing? No, we don't, Jason. We don't do Reiki healing. we do what we do collective chanting meditation. We chant, and through these collective chanting meditations, it is one way of our own self-healing. And when we do it collectively, it helps. But as we shared before, now with SSRF, we recommend not to do Reiki and Pranic Healing because it is dangerous. From Dedu, it is a question. I have seen different symbols used to attract Reiki energy, and different Reiki masters were claiming that the one they use is the only one correct, but they haven't provided any evidence. Yes, because see, in Reiki they use different symbols, and actually what happens is different Reiki will be using different symbol, and they will say this is the best symbol, this is the best energy. So similarly, for us, we say not to follow such guidance, whether it is which symbol they are using. Ultimately, symbol is like a yantras who have ability to attract vibrations. And most of the time, 80% of the time in Reiki or Pranic Healing, it is a transfer of black energy in using those type of symbols. There's another question from Aparna Bhargava. Where and how to learn Reiki and Pranic Healing? I would like to know when to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and when to chant Shri Gurudev Datta. See, we share Aparna that it is better not to do and not to learn Reiki or Pranic Healing because it will not help us. It may harm us. And during the day, see about repeating God's name. Ultimately, we can doing during the day, during activity. So ultimately, see, we recommend for any person who like to start repeating God's name, the Shri Gurudev Datta help us to overcome problem caused by ancestors. So that time we can just, if we can do by sit down chanting with concentration. So of course, if you cannot do 1 to 2 hours or 2 hours, maybe 1 hour, and you can break it in half an hour also. It can be done half an hour in morning, half an hour in evening, or if possible, 1 hour in morning or 1 hour in afternoon or evening. We recommend not to do such type of chanting late at night, because after 11 p.m. or midnight, negative vibration is higher, so it becomes difficult to concentrate. And then during the day, during random activity was walking, cooking, commuting, at that time we can chant in mind. We can chant the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya during random activity or whenever you can, because it helps us to make our mind stable. There's a question from Gaurav Sethi. I want to know how often should we repeat God's name when one a chronic problem. So Gaurav, see, ultimately we have also a chance for health that is available on the website depending on the the disease you may have, and it is shared also how many hours you can chant, or if you have any specific disease that you can also write on our live chat or to our seekers, and then they can tell you depending on the problem you may have what type of chant to do and how long. There is a question from Pavan Kumar Akula. Is dowsing pendulum connected to Reiki? Also, is there any spiritual practice to improve pendulum dowsing? So actually about dowsing and Reiki is something different, and they use sometimes in pendulum, because pendulum is to understand the vibration. So sometimes they may do it on a patient just to see, they may say, oh, it's to understand your vibrations, whether your chakra are affected or not. But again, it's the same. We have articles on the website who explain about dowsing pendulum. Then the person who holds the pendulum, it is the same phenomena as we have explained, that it is conducting. So whoever holds the pendulum, if the person is positive, then the chance of the reading is will be more accurate. But if the person is affected by negative energy, holding the pendulum, then it may have an incorrect reading. So similarly, we recommend that as SSRF to do spiritual practice, grow spiritually, and not to it may be attractive, pendulum, but better to refrain from doing it, or especially if you do it, not to interpret whether the reading that you get through dowsing is correct. There is a question from Carlin J. Well. A lot of people here in California are Reiki masters. Some people get really sick and go to hospital after visiting energy healers. Yes, Carlin, this is the same point that we are trying to say again and again, because most of the time the Reiki masters or healers are affected by negative energy. Either they are not, but they became due to negative energy affecting them with time. And often what happens, those who sometimes get Reiki done on them or healing done on them, so actually they get black energy, so they get more affected. I also came across one lady in Belgium that she says that after she will get healing, then she was having sensation of vomiting. This is something also that we also recommend not to go to healers, because in today's time, most of the healers are affected by negative energy. So that's why it is better to do self-healing. There is another question from Jana Vruda. As a Reiki healer, how to know we attract black energy? See, actually, Jana, that's what I share now. We may not know. The person may not be able to understand, because black energy can also disguise themselves as positive. So the person will not be able to understand unless they have a higher sixth sense. They will feel energy. See, even in SSRF, we have a section on subtle experiment. So you can do on the website also and perform subtle experiment and see what you feel. And many times in our workshop worldwide that we do also offline, I mean, where there were no COVID, we used to have many lectures and we used to perform like some reading like that for people to do subtle experiment. And we do it online now in our workshop also. And we show something positive, negative. See, person is able to perceive energies many times, but is not able to understand whether it is positive or negative, because that subtle sense, subtle ability is not developed. So that's why what we are trying to say is, remember, jhana is 80% of the time the exchange of energy in Reiki or Pranic Healing is actually an exchange of negative energy or black energy. There's another question from Nicola Antonich. But Reiki healing can be effective if one is at a very high spiritual level, above 60 and 70%. Yes, Nicola, actually, but it is very rare to find, no? The chance to find, because see, most of the time, no, a person who is at 60% or especially 70%, ascent, at that time they don't do, or it's very rare, they do any healing on others. Why? Because they are more focused in their spiritual practice, and a saint will be mainly doing things as per God's wish, and they will be doing out of money. So if once somebody asks money, is definitely not a healer at a good level, because somebody who will be at a higher level, they will not ask for money. But even if the person with maybe good level, even at 50%, but not protected or doing intense spiritual practice, they in time incur a great chance to be affected by negative energy. There's another question from Yogamaya Dasi. I notice a lot of the person who practice Reiki also practice witchcraft. Can somebody possess by doing Reiki? And can they install black energy center in one sessions? See, Yogamaya, actually, witchcraft is some ritual of witch. So it's actually a negative, very negative practice, and easy to understand that witchcraft is negative. We also suggest not to come across such type of practice because it is even much more dangerous. And can the person be possessed by doing Reiki? Yes. As I shared before, many people actually get affected. It takes some time for the person to get, it will depend. Some people can be affected by negative energy or possessed with some time. It may happen within few sessions, few months, because it will depend. See, if the person is spiritually strong, or let's say have some positivity, then it may take some time for the negative energy to be able to penetrate, we can say, and enter the person. But if the person is weak spiritually, then just one session is sufficient for the negative energy to enter the person. So that harmful it is. There's another question from Sukumar Nandi. Is Reiki one type of treatment? No, Reiki depends. Reiki is actually healing. So some people, what they will say, you need 10 sessions of Reiki. Some people say you need one session. But ultimately we are trying to say here that Reiki is dangerous and harmful, and better to do self-healing. Self-healing treatment, it is something that we should do all the time. Another question from Anita. Salt water is your disease. Is it okay to use for salt water healing? So Anita, we recommend rock salt. Rock salt is actually most natural. Rock salt is better. Sea salt is also okay. And at that time it is better to do healing. See if it is to do healing on others. Even though rock salt or sea salt is positive, again negative energy can, if it is of a higher negative energy, it's rock salt will not be sufficient. It can affect the person who actually help. And sometimes what happens, we have seen that somebody who is, let's say, affected by negative energy, and the person just want to help, doesn't want to do healing, but just want to propose for the person to do healing remedy. At that time, the negative energy may react to the person. Why? Because the person is trying to help. So what we can do, we can always suggest, before telling a person to pray for protection, and to tell the person to chant. That is the best healing remedy that we can recommend. So there is another question from Ramya. They do attunement in these Reiki classes. How would one revoke such attunement? See, again, the thing is, what happened is the best way is, see, let's say we get affected because we went to Reiki, we get Reiki done on us, or we have done Reiki and we experience something. At that time, if we do self-healing remedy or spiritual practice, at that time repeating God's name, removing black covering around us, it's just a matter of time to go back to that positivity or to that where we used to be. So just it's a matter, we need to practice something, and it will take time. It will depend also of few factors. If the negative energy was able to get a hold on the person, then it may take some time to overcome it. If it's just affected to a small extent from outside, then by doing some regular self-healing, it may be overcome with some time. That is from Jana. Any method will be recommended to identify negative energy attacked by healing. See, Jana is again, it will depend on the person's ability to perceive from the subtle dimension. So whether the person is able to understand something is happening. So that's why if we chant now, at that time we are protected, because that protection is there around us. So chanting God's name or spiritual practice is a secure protection. There's a question from Janira Martinez. Is it possible that some kind of illusory energy sometimes is created from the Pranic Healing or Reiki, that the person feel it is effective and good, but in reality it is not so, and people continue to attend it? And Janira, yes, that is a correct point that you say. Negative energy has the ability to create an illusory energy. It's called Maya Vishakti. It is and it gives a feeling that it is positive energy. So very often this is what happens in Reiki or Pranic Healing, that exchange of energy, and the person can feel the energy, and actually it is actually negative energy. What happens often in person who have don't get Reiki done on themselves or started practicing Reiki, at that time when the energy, they feel the energy, then they feel good at that time. The person ill or the healer, they feel good. But literally what happens is after some time, the person start experiencing the problem. It can be few weeks, few months, it depends. And sometimes the healer, sometimes after some time maybe feel drained also or weak after they have done healing. So initially during this time, during the period, the person feel nice. Why? Because it is energy. So that energy the person experience, then they feel good from it. But after it start transforming or it start becoming the opposite. The person start actually, and the person very often is not able to understand and differentiate between what is positive or negative energy. This is a question from Sanket Patil. I don't know, maybe you asked this question in beginning and it was pertinent, but I will just repeat. If self-healing Reiki is safe, no, it is not. Self-healing Reiki is better to avoid. Why? Because if the person calls different energies, they may not be able to understand whether this energy or light is actually positive or it is actually negative. There's a question from Santosh Pai. I have coughing problem due to allergies. I have taken medication from a couple of doctors, but it didn't cure. Can I overcome from coughing problem by doing self-healing? It is a bit different of the topic, Santosh, but yes, we can do self-healing remedy. See, it will depend on whether the problem is physical, psychological, or spiritual. So if you have coughing, it is always good to see your doctors that may see whether there is not any physical symptom behind the problem that you have. So always we recommend that the problem should be tackled at the physical, psychological, as well as spiritual level. I think we have a comment from Kristen Hardy. I used to do healing on others and would sometimes feel drained and sometimes felt attack from negative energy. There is also from Shivani Dogarbari. I used to do Reiki and face a lot of health problem and could not understand why it was happening. Gratitude for confirming that we can absorb negative energy despite doing protections. Yes, from Yasmina. At the initiation of Reiki, we were told that there is no danger because it is a universal positive energy. I reached level 4, was healing only myself, and after a while, I stopped healing. That's a good thing, Yasmina, and this is what happened. This is in Reiki, they say that actually it is not dangerous because you are actually calling the universal principle. But that's why it happens that negative energy can disguise themselves and the vibration the person cannot recognize. And most of the time what happens, negative energy from the subtle dimension wait for any opportunity to affect a person. Okay, dear Seeker, I think it is nice that you have asked different questions. So actually we have now come across in the end of our live stream sessions. And if you have other questions, you can always write on our live chat facility, or if you have different questions also, you can always write to us. You can also join our satsang, that is a group of meeting online, that's SSRF have. It is one platform where we help seekers in their spiritual journey, and especially if we have problem caused due to negative energy. This is something at SSRF we help seeker also, because quite often when it comes to spirituality, the problem or this problem is not so much addressed. But in SSRF we actually emphasize that negative energy does exist, they can affect us, but how to overcome it. And sometimes if we try to do by ourselves, it is not easy because it takes time to fight negative energy and overcome negative energy problem takes time and perseverance and discipline. So dear seekers, we will end for this session today. Tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, we have also our collective chanting meditations. This is some self-healing remedy that you can do. We play the divine chant in the background, and many of you who are attending are experiencing more calmness after the healing sessions. And dear seeker, on next week we also have our series on the same day. That will be which spiritual path is better for me. So we'll talk about what are the different spiritual paths, and to understand maybe what is the best path or spiritual path for me. So dear seeker, wishing you a good evening and hope to see you again. Namaskar to everyone.